Welcome. Today I'm talking about the dysfunctional relationship cycle that commonly happens with a female partner with borderline personality disorder, especially if she is unaware of her condition or untreated. Now, if you are someone with BPD or have a partner with BPD who is receiving intensive treatment for the personality disorder for BPD, then your experience may be quite different than what I'm describing here today. So keep in mind that your BPD partner may not be consciously playing mind games or purposely using emotional manipulation tactics with the intention of harming you. They don't always recognize or realize what they're doing, why they are doing it, or have control over it. But that does not mean you should excuse it or tolerate it. I also want to quickly point out that males also suffer from BPD and have similar relationship patterns, but there are some key differences, which is why I will create a separate video to talk about this. I'm Lise Leblanc. I've been a therapist for almost 25 years and a life coach for over a decade. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. This video is for informational purposes only, so if you are in need of help, please reach out to a mental health professional in your area. I won't get into detail about what BPD is, other than to say that it is characterized by unstable self-image, emotional reactivity and dysregulation, chaotic interpersonal relationships, impulsivity, as well as other symptoms, which you can find in my video called What is Borderline Personality Disorder? So here's a general description of how the destructive BPD relationship cycle works. Again, keeping in mind that there can be a lot of variation and individual differences based on the type of BPD, the specific symptoms and severity of symptoms, and whether they are receiving treatment. A relationship with someone with BPD is often described as a roller coaster or as a bipolar or volcanic relationship filled with massive ups and downs that start quite early on. Unlike a normal relationship where there's a honeymoon stage where everything runs fairly smoothly for several months, with someone with BPD, the honeymoon stage is a lot more intense and a lot shorter. So stage one is, of course, the idealization stage. In the very beginning of the relationship, the BPD partner will come across as extremely sweet, sensitive, energetic, fun, smart, and sexy. Part of her lure is that she will fire you up, make you feel alive and on top of the world. She rattles your senses, your spirit, and awakens something in you that you almost didn't know existed. So almost immediately, she gives you the sense that she is the missing piece you've been looking for, longing for your entire life. And she's totally present with you, engaged, attentive, and more interested and into you than anyone you've ever met before. And you'll be having that soulmate twin flame conversation very quickly. She'll talk about how you get her and understand her more than anyone, and you'll feel massively connected. And when you're with her, you really feel like the best version of yourself. In this idealization stage, she will use her sensuality and sexuality to her advantage. Initially, you may spend more time in the bedroom than outside of the bedroom. I call this sex bombing, which in combination with love bombing is a very powerful way to get you addicted to her. And while you're still in this idealization stage, the first few weeks, she will be very open and vulnerable with you. If she knows she has BPD, she'll likely tell you. If she doesn't know, she'll tell you how difficult she is to be with and how difficult her relationships have been. She will share intimate personal details about her life, her past trauma, and how she's been hurt. And she will tell you how safe and protected she feels with you. No one has ever made her feel this way before. She trusts you wholeheartedly, even though it's unfounded. I mean, you basically just met. But this activates your protective instincts, and it creates a fast bond and an unwritten agreement that you will never breach her trust, that you will always keep her safe. And it almost always elicits promises from you like, I'll never hurt you, I'll never abandon you, I'll never do those things that other people did to hurt you. Okay, so stage 2 is the obsessive clinginess stage. This stage usually starts only after a few weeks, and it's usually when you remember that you had a life, a family, a job before she came into your life. And it's not that you're pulling away from her emotionally, but you do need to keep the wheels turning in other areas of your life. This shift to not spending every waking moment with her or texting her every second of the day triggers deep insecurity in her. And so she may start accusing you of not caring, not loving her. She questions your ability to protect her, make her feel safe, and further provokes your protector instincts, but also provokes your need to prove yourself and to prove that you're a man of integrity, of your word. And she may pull away from you, acting like she doesn't need you, invoking fears in you of losing this amazing woman. When you express deep and genuine empathy, compassion, and you reassure her that you do care, that you are there for her, that you will keep her safe, consciously or subconsciously, she knows that you've accepted the hero role and that you will work really hard to be the man that you said you were. And from now on, you will experience more and more of her excessive need for your time, attention, energy, services, reassurances. And another thing I want to mention here is that she will be data mining very early on. And what I mean by that is it will be like a good cop, bad cop investigation. So at first she's asking you all kinds of questions about your past, your relationships, sometimes down to the tiniest detail, like where you had sex with an ex, or what you did in a past relationship. And she will act cool and neutral while you're providing this information, but later on she will be the bad cop exploiting this information. And anytime you may say anything about your past relationship, it will be treated as though you just, ripped a strip off of her and fed it to the dog. So at first it might feel good to have someone that needs you and is clinging to you, but over time it will wear you down. Stage 3 is the devaluation stage. So she still idealizes you most of the time, but here the nitpicking, criticizing, arguing, belittling, and subtle pokes at your ability to be a man are starting. She may also start to devalue your family and friends and devise scenarios or conflicts where you need to choose her over them. When she sees that you value anyone or anything else, it triggers her fear of abandonment and rejection, and it threatens her sense of self and her sense of security in the relationship. And so she makes every effort to isolate you from them. Stage number 4 is the escalation phase. This is where the push-pull, hot-cold, Jekyll and Hyde starts to intensify. And by this point, it's still early on in the relationship, probably, less than 2 months in, when things start to really go sour. Here she will go back and forth from showing an intense and all-encompassing, obsessive need for you, demanding all of your time and attention, and then, without rhyme or reason, at least nothing you can figure out, she pulls away. She starts withholding and withdrawing her praise, her admiration, attention, sex. And she may even break up with you or threaten to. She has huge overreactions to minor things. Maybe you didn't text her back right away or answer your phone because you were taking a shower or in the middle of something. Or maybe you make small talk with the clerk at the store while paying, and your BPD partner has a huge emotional meltdown as though you just had sex with her on the counter. She goes from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds. 1 minute, everything is cool, you're having fun, and then boom, there is a macro shift in her emotions and behavior, and she starts to throw random bombs into the relationship. This can be flirting with other men in front of you, accusing you of cheating or doing other things. It can be ghosting you for a few days or punishing you in other ways. She wants to know how much you will tolerate. She will test how far she can go before you do abandon her, and how much effort you will put into chasing her. She is subconsciously sabotaging the relationship. These emotional outbursts will become more frequent, more intense, and often can include verbal aggression, emotional abuse, and even physical violence. And you may play right into it, either getting baited into the conflict or trying to defend and explain yourself, trying to get her to see that you didn't do anything wrong, it's not what she thinks, that you had no intention of hurting her. But it's like in these escalations, she's lost touch with reality, and there is really nothing you can say or do to de-escalate her. It's like she's gone. In this case, she may have regressed emotionally or dissociated from her own sense of self or from reality. But the point is, these emotional and behavioral outbursts are not normal, and at this point, you may be thinking about ending it. But then comes stage 5, which is the repair stage. So when she eventually does come down from her escalated emotional state, she does one of two things. First, she really makes you feel at fault. And in this case, she feels entitled to an apology from you and a promise that you will change. And if you did get baited and did a few things that you're not proud of, you will probably fall right into this trap. Or she may genuinely apologize to you, and this apology will be dramatic, profuse, and filled with guilt and shame. But in the end, it often comes with excuses and justifications that pull on your heartstrings and leverage your need to be needed and your previously made promises to keep her safe and protected. But regardless of who takes responsibility, by the end of the conversation, new agreements and commitments are made, and you both promise to do better, to change, and there's this feeling that things are resolved and repaired. And this is often followed by amazing sex, which in her mind fixes everything. She may be nurturing and on her best behavior for a while after the outburst, and she may go back to idealizing you, but it won't last. Stage 6 is the responsibility stage. Here you truly start to feel responsible for her problems, and you try really hard to avoid activating her fears and insecurities. But as you repeat the dysfunctional cycle over and over, you start taking responsibility for trying to satisfy all of her wants and needs, keeping her happy and stable, which is 100% out of your control and impossible. So you spend most of your time walking on eggshells, because anytime you say or do something she doesn't like, it's a major episode. And to avoid these emotional and behavioral episodes, you start treading very lightly. You shift yourself to try to fit in with her expectations. But nothing works. Nothing is good enough. She is chronically dissatisfied with you, judging you, letting you know it's your fault, she needs more from you, or else she's leaving. And there will be ultimatums where you need to improve ASAP. You need to prove that you will change and be the man that you promised to be. And slowly you start becoming a pathetic tryhard, stripped of your manhood, feeling trapped, drowning, and suffocated by this responsibility. Stage 7 is the repeat and recycle stage. So maybe there are times when your partner seems to be making significant improvements, and you might think you finally figured her out. But then she shifts back into the erratic, impulsive, dramatic demeanor. You may want to leave, but maybe you've got too much invested, or you're afraid of what will happen if you do leave. And maybe you're addicted to her, trauma bonded, or you may be fearing that she will end her life or ruin yours if you leave. But as time goes on, you go deeper down into this rabbit hole, becoming more isolated, helpless, and hopeless. So my best piece of advice, if you are in this type of relationship with a BPD partner, is to talk to someone who can support you and help you figure out what's best for you. If your BPD partner is not receiving intensive treatment for her personality disorder, it is highly unlikely that things will ever change. So if she's not aware, taking responsibility and going for treatment and showing significant improvements over time, making that effort, then you need to figure out what you need to do to protect yourself. And if you decide to stay, you will need to adjust your expectations, learn strategies to navigate the ups and downs, to preserve your sanity, and to reconnect with your true self, your wants, your needs, your values that have been swallowed up by this destructive relationship cycle. And if you want to learn more about BPD, click on the next video or check out my playlist on borderline personality disorder.